Welcome back to the message crawler update. Today I want to talk about kind of an advanced and maybe a little confusing topic, which is splitting messages in a different time zone. So let me go to my computer and show you a setting that you can configure and explain to you how it works. Alright, so we have message crawler here, and I'm going to go to my profile called Export Conversations, and I'm going to open my profile here. So one of the things I can do here is slice messages in time zone. And I want to spend this video talking about just this function. If you know how it works, you can just wait for the next video or do something else. But this is very important to some people, and it's a little bit confusing to how it works. So normally when we use version 6 of message crawler, we slice data in whatever date time zone is used, right? We just kind of chop it up by 24 hours, right? Whenever the day changes, that's when the new RSMF starts. The problem that some people have with that is when they process data that's been sliced in UTC into, let's say, relativity environment with Eastern time zone. What happens then is everything kind of shifts, right? So now your conversations happen not between midnight to midnight, but maybe 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. Now, most of the time, that's really not a big deal. It doesn't matter. It's still 24-hour slices. But they look kind of weird, right? Because the conversation doesn't start exactly at midnight. Don't know why it even matters. And in version 6, I had kind of a complicated workflow where you can create new conversation identifiers that is shifted, but then use original date send so that your data that gets exported to our SMF file has been shifted sort of ahead of time, kind of pre-shifted, and when you load it to relativity, everything kind of slides back in place. And this is what this option allows you to do. You can pick a different time zone that you know you're going to be processing RSMFs in. Yeah, this should be that. All right. And if you slice your data in Central, so let's say you have your data loaded and it is in UTC time zone, which most data will be. Then for slicing, we're going to temporarily convert dates and times into a Central time zone, slice it up, but then use UTC dates and times to write to our SMF file. And what will happen is when the client gets this data, they will process it in Central time zone, and everything is going to look like it's going from midnight to midnight. This is a pretty good option, and I know some people who really like it and they use it. The problem is if you don't know what time zone client is going to be processing data in. So let's say you assume it's Central, you give it to them, but then they're like, oh no, it's actually Pacific. And so they process it in the Pacific time zone, and then everything shifts like way out there, it's all crazy, right? So that's one way you can actually make things worse if you don't know what time zone to slice it in. So if you're in doubt, if you're not sure, just leave it unchanged, let it slice it in UTC time zone, and when the client loads it, depending on their time zone, some slight shift will happen, probably not a big deal. If you 100% sure you know what time zone this data will be processed in, then you can specify that here, and then the client will have slightly nicer experience when looking at this data. So that's what this option does. I hope I did a good job at explaining this, pros and cons and so on. Let me know if it's not clear, or if there are any other options you're interested in as far as slicing messages. Thank you for checking out this message crawler update. See you on another.